The dining room was warm, glowing softly under the chandelier my mother loved so much. The scent of roasted chicken and her special mint rice filled the air, wrapping the evening in a false sense of comfort. I sat quietly at the long, polished table, surrounded by familiar faces that suddenly felt unfamiliar. Laughter floated around, forks clinked, and conversations overlapped like everything was perfectly normal. Then my mother smiled, casual and unaware of the storm she was about to unleash. "We're passing the cottage his parents gave you over," she said, looking at me as if announcing something joyful. My fork slipped from my hand. It hit the plate with a dull, heavy sound that echoed louder in my chest than in the room. For a moment, I thought I misheard her. The cottage, the one gifted to me, my cottage. Before I could speak, Rayan cleared his throat. He sat across from me, shoulders relaxed, face annoyingly calm, like this decision had been perfectly reasonable. His new fiancée, Zoya, sat beside him, her fingers resting possessively on his arm. She didn't look at me directly, just smiled a smile too sweet to be honest. My mother continued, oblivious. "They'll handle the paperwork next week. It's better if the cottage stays in their hands now. Their hands." The words hit deeper than they should have. Zoya finally looked at me, her eyes sparkling with the kind of victory only a thief felt after stealing something precious. "Don't worry, Aira," she said gently. "We'll take good care of it." Her voice rang in my ears, soft and poisonous. The cottage, the place where Rayan first told me he loved me, where we planned summer nights, future holidays, dreams now turned into ashes. The last untouched memory I had, and she said she would take good care of it. I forced a smile, though my jaw stiffened painfully. "Of course," I whispered, but inside something cracked. The dinner continued, everyone pretending nothing had shifted. My mother talked about wedding preparations. My aunt asked Zoya about dress fittings. Rayan laughed at a joke my uncle made, completely unbothered, as if he hadn't stolen my heart and now wasn't trying to steal my memories too. My palms felt cold, my throat tight. I couldn't breathe in that room anymore. "I think I should get going," I said quietly, pushing my chair back. "You barely ate, and my mother protested. I'm just tired," I lied. When I stepped outside, the cool night air hit my face like a wake-up call. My chest rose and fell, slowly, as a strange clarity settled over me. They could take the cottage on paper, but I would not remain the girl who quietly accepted betrayal. Not anymore. Sleep didn't visit me that night. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment that had led to this quiet humiliation. Memories I had buried deep began to surface, sharp as broken glass. The cottage, Rayan, Zoya, all of it came crashing back, demanding to be felt again. It wasn't always like this. There was a time when Rayan looked at me like I was the only person in the room. He would smile softly, tuck a loose strand of hair behind my ear, and whisper, "Aira, you're my home." I believed him with every heartbeat. And Zoya, she was supposed to be my closest friend, the one who knew every fear, every dream, every fragile piece of me. But betrayal begins quietly. I remembered the first small signs, Zoya visiting our apartment a little too often, claiming she was just checking in, yet somehow spending more time with Rayan than with me. She'd laugh at all his jokes, lean closer than necessary, compliment him in ways that made my stomach twist. I told myself I was imagining things. After all, she was my friend. She knew how much I loved him, but the truth doesn't stay hidden forever. There was one evening, one I tried to erase when everything shifted. I had planned a surprise dinner for Rayan. I arrived early, excited, carrying takeout from his favorite place. When I walked into the cafe, the scene froze me in place. Rayan and Zoya sat together, their heads close, her hand brushing his wrist in a way no friend ever would. They didn't look surprised or guilty when they saw me, just startled like they'd been caught rehearsing a lie. Zoya stood first too quickly. Aira, what a coincidence. Coincidence. My heart cracked a little that day. 2 weeks later, Rayan came to my apartment. His expression was distant, cold, unfamiliar. "I don't feel the same anymore," he said simply. No explanation, no closure, just a shattered future placed quietly at my feet. And now, months later, they were taking the cottage too, the one place still untouched by their betrayal. The place I loved, the place where I once believed my life was beginning. I sat on the edge of my bed, fingers trembling as the truth settled heavily. They didn't just fall in love. They planned this. Piece by piece, they took everything that mattered, my relationship, my trust, my safe place. But as the pain swelled, something else rose with it, resolve. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand. Let them think they won. Let them think they had everything. They didn't know what I still had, and they had no idea what I was about to do next. The next morning, sunlight slipped through my curtains, warm and gentle, the kind of light that usually brought comfort, but I didn't feel comfort. I felt a heaviness in my chest, mixed with a strange new strength. Something inside me had shifted at that dinner table, and the change was irreversible. I made coffee, sat at my small dining table, and began sorting through old documents, half out of distraction, half out of an instinct I couldn't fully explain. I hadn't touched these papers in months, not since the breakup, but as I sifted through envelopes and certificates, a dusty brown folder slid out and landed on my lap. My breath paused. It was the folder his parents had given me the day they handed over the cottage keys. I remembered Rayan's mother hugging me, saying, "This place is yours now, a new beginning for you and Rayan." At the time, I believed her words were blessings. Now they felt like echoes of a life stolen. My fingers trembled as I opened the folder. Inside was a crisp, stamped document with bold letters at the top. Gift deed, irrevocable transfer of property. I blinked twice. Irrevocable, meaning the cottage belonged to me, legally, permanently, and no one, not Rayan, not Zoya, not even my mother, had the right to transfer it without my consent. A slow, unexpected smile touched my lips, not a happy smile, a knowing one, a dangerous one. They thought they could take everything from me, but they overlooked the most important thing. I wasn't as helpless as they believed. For weeks, Rayan and Zoya had flaunted their happiness, showing off a life built on broken trust. But happiness built on betrayal never stands steady. And lately, I had been hearing whispers. My cousin mentioned Rayan seemed stressed at work. A friend told me Zoya had become insecure, jealous of every woman who so much as greeted him. Their perfect world was cracking, and now I held the final piece that would shatter it completely. I placed the gift deed on the table and leaned back, feeling a deep calm spread through me. But I didn't want chaotic revenge. I didn't want screaming or fighting. That wasn't me. My revenge needed to be quiet, controlled, and unforgettable. I started taking steps toward rebuilding myself. I worked longer hours, poured my energy into things that actually mattered, and watched myself grow stronger. The more I focused on myself, the more I realized something important. Revenge wasn't about hurting them. It was about reclaiming me. And soon, very soon, they would learn a truth they never expected. I was not the fragile girl they abandoned. I was the woman who would take back everything they tried to steal. A month passed, each day sharpening me a little more. The pain that once felt unbearable slowly transformed into something steadier, stronger. I no longer cried over what happened. Instead, I found clarity and a plan. Quiet revenge isn't loud or cruel. It's precise. It's a mirror held up to someone who refused to see their own reflection. So I arranged a small family gathering at the cottage. Everyone thought I was finally ready to let go, to move on, to hand the place over peacefully, let them think whatever they wanted. My silence had always been their greatest misunderstanding. When I arrived, the cottage looked sad, neglected, unkempt. Rayan and Zoya had already put their claim on it and done absolutely nothing to care for it. Typical. They wanted the trophy, not the responsibility. I stood on the porch, placing my hand against the door I once hoped would open to a life with him. Now it opened to something far better: closure. People began to gather. My mother, my aunt, his parents, and finally Rayan and Zoya. She stepped out of their car looking irritated, as if this gathering was an inconvenience. Rayan looked nervous, his eyes darting between me and the cottage. "So," Zoya said, crossing her arms, "are we signing today?" I smiled softly, too softly. I actually have something to share first. Everyone fell silent. I pulled the thin brown folder from my bag and placed it on the small porch table. The wind lifted the top page slightly, revealing the bold text none of them wanted to see. Gift deed irrevocable transfer to Aira Hassan Rayan froze. Zoya's face drained of color so fast it was almost satisfying to watch. My mother stepped forward, confused. Aira, what is this? This. I said calmly, is proof that the cottage belongs to me, legally, permanently. It was gifted to me, and cannot be transferred without my consent I never gave. His mother gasped. His father's expression tightened. Zoya took a step back, her confidence evaporating. That's impossible, she whispered. Rayan said, Rayan assumed. I interrupted gently, like he assumed he could lie, cheat, and still take something that wasn't his. Rayan looked at me, then really looked, and for the first time in a long time, I saw regret carve itself into his features. Aira, please, let's talk. There's nothing left to talk about. I replied, my voice steady. You both took everything from me once, but this. I placed my hand on the deed. This is something you can't touch. I gathered the papers, turned, and walked toward my car as whispers rippled through the group. Zoya called my name, desperate. Rayan took a step after me. I didn't look back. For once, they were the ones left standing alone. And I finally felt free.